Hi folks, Dr. Rowe here. Hope you're having a good day. For those of you that are watching this in the UK, I'm sure there's a video clip come up here promoting my own event. That's great. Good marketing is obviously working. Those of you in the UK, I hope everything's going well for you. Appreciate at the moment there's a lot of change happening. We don't know where we're getting to by the end of the week. So I think the most important thing is to stay focused on what you have control of in your own environment at the moment. As many of you know, I've been with public coaching in the world of business and real estate and personal development now for some years, and as an entrepreneur, but also as a professional coach stroke mentor, I always try and get as many messages out as I can and get called upon. In fact, I just had somebody from PR actually speak to me yesterday because there's a lot of questions coming in, so you might see a voice going out into the public space shortly. In the meantime, I want to talk to business owners today on the subject of obviously what's happening with coronavirus, COVID-19, because even today I had a phone call from somebody asking me if I could do a couple of things to help out, specifically with the business in terms of keeping customers happy and warm and also keeping them inspired and motivated. So if you're watching this right now and you are self-employed or you run a business that involves providing a service or customer to, or products to customers, there's four things I suggest that you might want to consider over these next coming weeks and months actually, and in reality, years moving forward. During my last experience of a recession in this country, I learned a lot of lessons. I learned a lot of lessons about partnerships, about trust, about loyalty, and also about helping maintain relationships with customers and clients at difficult periods. And I learned very much about the importance of maintaining that connection with your clients, which I think a lot of people tend not to do when they're in a difficult place. Because if you're a business owner, I spoke to a gentleman today that's been in business for over 30 years, and one of his challenges was that would he maintain his relationship with his clients? What if his clients get into difficulty? Would they want to buy from him? How does he adapt into that marketplace? Does that mean a gap in the income coming in? And then what impact of him on his livelihood, for his family, for where he lives, etc., his home? And I think this is a real concern for a lot of people. So when we're in a place where we're almost drowning, or we're concerned that the water's rising very quickly and we don't feel like we've got anywhere to move to, typically what happens is, we get to a point where all we can think about is avoiding that, losing our oxygen and drowning. So I want to shift that focus, and the way I tend to do this when I'm working with somebody, and as you're watching this, just take this as a tip, a coaching tip, some suggestions. You can take all of it and say great, or you can take all of it and say nah, not interested in this at all. The reality is, and we just had somebody ask the same question I was about to tackle. The reality is that COVID-19 is coincidentally, or not, but for the sake of synchronicity, we'll just use the word synchronicity, is synchronizing with a specific moment in time when we were due to be hit by a recession anyway. And I think that's an important point to be aware of. And if you're watching this, please share this video with people around you who maybe have had their head down, I don't want to use the word naively, but have naively thought, well, keep hard and stay in my job, everything's going to be fine. There are cyclical patterns with recessions. If you haven't watched my recent webinars, we're actually about to relaunch them because we had a lot of people asking what's happened to your webinar on recessions. There are cyclical periods. Typically major recessions happen every 7 to 10 years. Our last recession was 2008, that sort of period. We were due to get hit about a year and a half ago. If you look at quantitative easing and certain other factors that have occurred both in America, in the UK and in Europe, that level of quantitative easing has kept the tiger at the gate, has kept the monster outside the cave, meaning that when you print enough money, you can prop up an economy. The Americans printed into the trillions. In the United Kingdom here, it was, don't quote me on the exact figure, but it was 400 plus billion. In Europe, there's been a level of quantitative easing going on a monthly basis, and that's moved now into the trillions, 1 point something trillion. What that does, it floods the market effectively with money, which allows people to spend. And that spending has gone into areas such as, one of the main areas, of course, for people spending is on consumption, which boosts gross domestic product. Gross domestic product is the amount of revenue spent effectively in an economy. And we've had a fairly good boost through 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, particularly in the car market. Unfortunately, that has started to take a turn. And if you look at the great, there's something called the Big Four in America. These are 4 indexes that you can look at, 4 major economic indicators that if you combine them create one index. And if you look at what's happened to the Big Four, you might be able to look this up on Google right now, but the Big Four basically peaked in 2008, peaked prior to 2008, came down. We went through the recession, came out the other end, and it's progressively climbed all the way up to about 2015. And if you know anything about the stock market, it can channel, right? Indicators channel, economies channel. It hit its peak around 2014, 15, and it's been doing this 2015, 16, 17, 18, and what I believe, and if you speak to a lot of economists, I think you'll hear the similar argument, is that it's bolstered it up there through the fact that we've had quantitative easing. Now, it was due to take a turn down anyway. If you've been to any presentations or any seminars that you've seen me do in the last 2 years, I've talked about bang, the juggernaut that's coming down the road that's going to hit us. And if you're watching this and you remember that, I did this whole bang in front of you, as an audience, and the bang was the recession is coming, it's going to hit us, and are you prepared for it? So a year and a half ago, I had a lot of people in my rooms from the car industry saying, shit, we're coming into this room to learn about real estate, to want to be able to become financially independent through property. And by doing that, that's going to give us security, because we believe the car industry is taking a tanking, and it is. You've got now, of course, now what's happening is anyone that was teetering on the edge, hanging on by their fingertips, I mean, literally, just like this. It only takes one thing to grab you and pull you down, and then off you go down. And I think COVID-19, the coronavirus, has suddenly done exactly that. And I had this conversation with 2 people today, one on the phone, one face-to-face. And I said, look, it's been happening anyway. I mean, if you'd gone back 6 months, major reports from people like John Lewis, Carpet-Wright. We know, for example, that the major flight companies have been struggling. Thomas Cook, whatever it is, just went bust about 6, 7, 8 months ago. Major problems on the high streets, as we saw in 2008 and 9, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, all the signs have been there, the cracks have been there. Now, you add weight to that with something like COVID-19, and you've got major problems. So this has been a synchronistic, albeit a negatively synchronistic moment in time where it was going to happen anyway. So the question is, what's my opinion about recession after COVID-19? COVID-19 is just literally somebody dragging the recession down at an accelerated level. Now we've got announcements, those of you in the United Kingdom, your Carphone warehouse basically looks like they're going into insolvency. Virgin are asking for a £7.5 billion bailout from the government. Apparently one of the big Flybe, one of the big companies, has just gone bust on airlines. So that's all just that is an accelerator. It's like putting something in to glue that's setting and putting an accelerator in a catalyst, and it's locking it in there. So we're in for a serious spirally downward trend at the moment. That's my personal view. It's going to affect all businesses. But whilst we're in the midst of the storm right now, which is the COVID-19, what can you do as an entrepreneur? 4 things I think you need to do. Number one, stay in touch with your clients. So if you have a business that involves working with clients, excuse me, I'm getting misted up, or something's going on with my glasses here. So if you have clients that you service or you sell products to, get back in touch with them ASAP and make it a reach out on a personal level. I hope everything's okay with you. I'm checking in amidst what is obviously a very difficult time, and somebody that's been serving you or working with you or whatever, providing a service for a certain number of years. I just wanted to reach out and extend my considerations, my love to your family, and find whatever language is appropriate to you, and just want to make sure that everything's okay in your world. That's number one. And in the same process, to reassure them, just to let you know as well that, from our perspective, although there's challenges going on, we'd still like to provide a service to you, or to help or support you, or whatever it is you do. Find a way to articulate your message to them, to let them know that you're still in the world, you're still there. The look and the feel of your business might have changed. It might be that you're going more online, or that you may have to provide a service slightly differently, remotely, via phone, if you're somebody that works with people privately. Find a way to get that message across. Now, that's not going to be as easy for those of you that are involved in a service that's more hands-on, and that's something you're going to have to consider. Is there another way you can talk to them? So, for example, I spoke to somebody that does a lot of treatment work, physical treatment work, and I said this is a bit of a mini coaching session. I said, well, what do you think a lot of the challenges that your clients have? And they said, well, mainly stress. A lot of the work I do is relieving stress. And I asked the question, if you can't get to them for the next week or two, what do you know causes that stress? And they were talking about the mindset, the diet, the lifestyle, over worrying. So I said, well, what if you put something together for them by way of an email or a video like this, which said to them, look, appreciate I can't be there to work on you, but what you can do to start to help to alleviate, here's some stretching exercises to do, and then demonstrate that, and then maybe show them some tips and tools about how to relieve that pressure. And they were like, oh my God, that's brilliant, that's genius, I haven't even thought about that. So by staying in touch with your clients and holding their hands through this process, and still giving them some tools that will enable them to still look after themselves. And I'm giving you one example there, but it might be something else to do with diet or whatever your business is. I've been asked, for example, to host a webinar very shortly to help some clients that have signed up for some seminars. And of course, those seminars have been put back now, maybe 2-3 weeks. So we just want to find a way to communicate to them and give them some great things they can still be doing working from home, whilst getting themselves ready for when they get that next level of learning. Point being, you're in business, you have a huge amount of knowledge. Take some of that knowledge and give it for free to people to keep them hot and keep them warm. That's the first one. Second thing is for you is start to look at what can you be doing from home. So if you can't physically get out, what can you do to provide a service to people, or what could you be doing to prepare yourself in expectation of when whatever happens, the closures, the lockdowns, whatever finish, what can you be doing? So for example, I would be getting in touch with clients and starting to move dates back. We just had a seminar that we've been had on. We're just looking to move that date back. So we're going to go out and tell people that there's a potential move in the date. So first thing is contact your customers and give them some tools and tips that can help them keep them warm. Even something as simple as mindset tools or whatever. In a way, I'm doing this, and we're doing that through my own mechanism as well, communicating with people. Number two, based on the current business model you've got, at least don't cancel things if you can. Reschedule something. So move something back, move the date back, get an agreement, at least in principle, to deliver a product, deliver a service, to come and, if it's a massage or whatever it is you do in your business, delivery dates moving back, product production. If you're working from home, there's certain things you can do. So that's number two. Check in on any services you've got. Can you reschedule them? Can you move them back? Don't cancel them completely, but find a way to restructure so that at least you've got, for the moment, something in the pipeline, albeit there might be a delay in current situation that you're in. Okay, so that's number two. Number three, I do think it's worth taking a look at your financial situation and establishing how long you've got with the current amount of money you've got in the bank account. So for example, if you run a business and you earn money, you put money aside for tax, and then you have money that's you're living off, and there might be money that you put aside. How much funds do you have right now? Do some cash flow forecasting. Have a look at your current financial situation and say, how long can I last without me having any clients paying me at the moment? And if you find you're in a situation which is difficult, and for example, you know that in 3 weeks' time you're going to be struggling to pay some bills, maybe some creditors, your mortgage, whatever it is, pick up the phone and call some people. And again, I can't give you financial advice, but it might be that you need to speak to your mortgage lender and find out if they're offering mortgage holidays, i.e. they will allow you to delay your mortgage payments for 3, 6, 12 months. So in the last recession, 2008, 2009, 2010, a lot of people had mortgage holidays that gave them a little bit of relief, just to give them a chance to last a little bit longer. Really important. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, looking at your current situation with creditors, people you owe money to, go back to them and explain the current situation and say, look, I'm not in a position to pay you the money that I know is due to pay you in a week and a half, 2 weeks time. If you can pay them something, pay them something. Whether it's 50%, 40%, 30%, 20%, really doesn't matter. But find a way to discuss, and again, I can't give you financial advice here, but at least find a way to discuss with them if there's a way to move that back, delay it, or reduce it, or spread it to mitigate the risk on you at this time, to keep you afloat. Because of course, if you've drowned, you're not going to be able to pay anybody. And I know your intention is to do that, but is there a way to mitigate that risk by spreading that out as well? So that's the second thing that you can do from your own financial situation, your own forecasts. Are there any credit cards, loans, or anything like that you've got payments on that you could potentially reduce, stretch, move back, call credit card companies, talk to whoever you need to talk to, but think about that. Okay, so really be thinking about two things. Well, I mean, there's four I'm going through here, but two of the first two are really about your customers, keeping them happy, finding a way to provide something for them, whether it's information, tools, whatever. Go back and reschedule things so you've got some timelines. The rescheduling of that will help you when you're talking to step 3, which is looking at your current cash flow, because you can go back to a bank or a lender, and I had to go through this in 2008 on a couple of situations. For example, some refurb work we were doing with the builders, and the builders were fine. We managed to stretch it out and say, look, can we pay you X, Y, and Z? And the other thing I learned back then was how to talk to people and make sure that you're delaying anything, but your intention is there. So you speak to your bank, speak to the credit card company, speak to the lender, whatever it is, and say, look, I've spoken to my clients who I service, my customers who I service. I've moved back some of that service for about 3 to 4 weeks, which is delaying my finances coming in. So can we agree something whereby I move that back by X, Y, and Z? And that can work. And I remember this experience 10, 12. It's not an easy thing to go through, but it's important that you put this in place now. And do it objectively, step back, relax, and don't get stressed about it, because the minute you get stressed, you get edgy with people, and that energy comes across. Now, the fourth thing is about the future. So I'm looking at immediate now, managing cash flow, and then the future. And this is a question for you. Bearing in mind the change that's happening, how can your business change? And this is a really important question. I've asked this question of myself many times over the years, and I see it right now, particularly with the events industry, the seminar industry that I'm in, is what can your business do now to adapt and to change into what is going to be, without a doubt, a different world in the next 6 to 12 months. This whole thing with COVID-19 is just the surface of a whole new wrapping that the world's going to have. And you can challenge me on that and say, no, everything's going to go back the same way. I don't believe so. I think it's like a scar on your arm, if I can find one. I burnt myself the other day. Here you go. Here's a scar I got at Christmas. It's healed, and that was an oven burn, but that will always stay there. And I can do stuff to ease it off, but that's how these things happen. So you've got to think about your business, the world that your business is in, and start to anticipate what changes ahead are likely to have happened or will happen. And I think it's really important to think about what new services can you offer. Can your business go online? Can you start to create products that are digital, that provide a service that allow you to have a low-cost product that will still generate some revenue for you? If you're out of action for the next 2 or 3 weeks, get yourself a camera like this, this is just a phone, and start to record or video some tools and tips and techniques that actually you can go on to start to sell online. Now, if you don't know how to do that, here's a massive tip for you. Go to www.growthtribes.com. Now, if you're offline for the next month, go and join us on Growth Tribes. Growth Tribes is an online community that I personally have, and yes, it's a subscription, but if you go for the first month, I think at the moment it's like £1. So if you got a month off because of COVID-19, go and join us in the vault. And I mean this sincerely, because if you go in there, there's some tools there around business, about mindset. There's also a really cool product there by a company called B Street, Harminder and Kyle and the team there, and they've created a really cool set of steps on how to evolve and develop yourself as an online business. And these are great tips to get your presence up there. So if you can go to my communications section in there, I've got a video series in there on communications, and you can start to use that and to record in front of the camera. Maybe you come up with your 5, your 10-step process for your product or service, or whatever it is. Go and watch that video on growtribes.com inside the vault. Go to the vault and go and look at the business online series that's there. That will help you to go and market a product like this, and you can get out there and sell this as well. So it's a great way to service your customers out in the marketplace. So that's my 4th tip. It's looking ahead into the future and saying, what can I start to create now? How can my business look different? You've got to think about the reinvention of you. Once things start to settle out and COVID-19 hopefully becomes something in the wing mirror that goes into the distance, we can't assume it's the last time it's going to happen. We're going to face this again. The landscape has changed. So think about your business, bulletproof your business, future-proof your business, find a way to reshape it so you've got multiple sources of income for that business coming into the future instead of maybe the one source of income that you've got going on right now. I can see my kids are downstairs. I can hear something going on, so I'm going to have to go. I hope this has been useful to you. It's Dr. Rose signing out. I shall see you very soon.